Welcome back. In last video, we talked about what is learning. We saw some of the seminal learning theories, how seminal learning theories can be applied to CBLE. In this video, what are the issues in learning, how the personalized adaptive learning can be the solution. To talk about issues in the learning, I will request Vishwas to talk about what are the issues in learning. You discussed a lot of learning theories in detail, but can you tell us the issues in the learning theories?
Sure, sir. This is very important and pressing point in the context of learning. Why learning breaks down in different contexts. So, key issues in learning. We can start with the first one given here. It is all from literature. So, the summary is there are, say, 5 key issues in the learning. First one is prior knowledge variability in learners. So, learners arrive with different backgrounds. Say when we say background can be social background, socio-historic and economical background, educational background, language background, or the opportunities they have got in the learning setting, in the social setting also. It has like very diverse spectrum of the components. So uniform instruction again adds up to the prior knowledge variability, serve as a narrow band effectively. It is given in the literature. So the next point is motivation and engagement of a learner as an individual learner as well as a group. The motivation and the engagement to engage with the learning, whether it is happening in a problem solving context or whether it is happening in a non problem solving and generic conceptual learning setting. So the motivation and engagement varies very highly. So without perceived relevance or appropriate challenge, learners disengage with the content or learning process. So the third issue with the learning is cognitive overload. So cognitive overload is very important point nowadays. We can also see due to the media overload, different type of information is coming from all the directions. The cognitive overload also comes into the picture. That is a generic example or the narration, but in context of the structured content and structured learning environment also, the cognitive overload can happen with the learners. So the working memory has limited capacity. Poorly designed instruction overwhelms the learner, hence the cognitive overload occurs and it fails the learning process. Next key issue is poor metacognition. So when we say metacognition, it is ability to regulate one's own cognition, means how am I learning effectively or not, like that. And if I am not learning effectively, managing my learning processes, then what should I do through regulating those processes? This skill is primarily considered as a metacognition in learning. So learner often cannot accurately assess their own understanding, hence learning derail. Last key issue in the learning is lack of timely feedback, maybe through learning environment or the human in the learning setting. So the delayed or absent feedback prevents learner from correcting errors and misconception and improving the learning. So sir, these were the 5 learning related issues due to which learning breaks down.
Fantastic. I think personalized learning environments can address all of this. May not be the metacognition and overload too much, but it can definitely address the first, second, and fifth point. Before that, we'll see what is personalization. Personalization in learning refers to instruction that pays to the learner's needs, tailored to the learner's preferences, and designed to meet individual learner's interests and needs. So what it means is that personalization is the instruction, the content is tailored to the learner based on their preferences and needs. For example, we access the learner's needs by interest by conducting assessment questions. Then we understand the learner's preferences by the way they're interacting with the computer-based learning environment. Are they watching more of videos? Would they like to give a content in the multimedia context like a video or text or image? So based on that, we can provide a personalized content. That is the idea. Also, personalized content, personalized learning is the tailoring of pedagogy. that curriculum and learning environments. For example, if the learner is not able to understand in one particular pedagogy, we could start with a different way of teaching, more different tailored content, or we could give the more prior knowledge, because as Vishwas mentioned, the learners are diverse, each one needs a different prior knowledge, different content, that the pedagogy can be tailored for the learner to meet their individual learner's need. I think we'll go deep in detail how personalization can happen. Personalization can happen for the content. I think we'll be discussing this very detailed in the coming weeks. Personalization in terms of content will be that you can adapt the content based on the learner's performance and preferences, and the personalization can be also based on the pace, how fast the learner progresses. If the learner is answering the questions correctly, we should give the more difficult points. If the learner is not able to perform well, we should give a more remedial content, give a similar task, or how we arrange the topics in the order. If the learner is able to complete the topic, let's move on to the next topic, or the learner needs some more knowledge in this topic, should I give a prior knowledge, should I ask them to repeat again with a more detailed content, all those things, sequencing and giving the feedback. I think one of the issue you mentioned, timely feedback, the how and when the learners responded, when the learners needs help while solving a mathematical problem, can we give help immediately? Can we delay the help? Or can we give what kind of hint should we give, and when to give? These are the important things we should personalize. Also, each learner have their own learning objective and the goal. We have to work towards the learning goal. We have to teach the learner to make them to achieve the goal. I think all this, the dimension of personalization might address it. I'll just go in detail how it would address. The prior knowledge variability, which you mentioned in the first key issue, can be addressed by tailoring the starting point of the content. Also, based on the learner's performance in the assessment in MCQ, we could provide a prior knowledge content also. For example, a learner starts with the class 6 mathematics, say fractions. If he is not able to understand, I would give him more content on the fractions content from a class 5 to be able to understand the basic foundation is set. Move on. The content can be tailored so that the knowledge is not uniform. It's not one size fits all. It's tailored based on each individual learner. For motivation and engagement, I think we would match the content based on the skill, master the knowledge, and the difficulty of the content. If it matches, they'll be more engaged, so that they'll be motivated with the learning. If we match the content more difficult compared to student skill, they might get bored or frustrated. So we need to match it. So that can be done by the personalized learning environment. We'll see this in week 2 and 3. The cognitive overload, as I said, it's can be done by using chunking the content to small pieces and making the students to focus on one particular skill at a time. Once they complete, move on to the next skill. That will be easier compared to in the normal traditional learning. They have to learn too many and they don't have their own pace. Here the student have their own pace. They can control what they learn. They can control the cognitive overload. And the metacognition is not directly doable in the PAL, but there are some systems we'll discuss in this course where they're able to capture the learner's planning, strategizing, all those things in the detail. Maybe it's not the cognitive level feedback, higher level in the metacognitive feedback can be doable. The lack of timely feedback, that is a key. We could create a system, CBLE. It can provide immediate feedback targeted on the learner's need and based on each individual learner. The feedback is not same for everyone. Based on each learner's choice they selected, the feedback can be given. So that is, personalization is not something which is very luxury, which will may be needed later. No, it is very important fundamental diversity. It is very important to respond to the diverse learners and to provide learners their own pace of learning. So to talk about personalization, it is not a recent idea. Personalization started in very well in 1920s and 30s. They talked about learning. They said that, can we teach students in the classroom, then can we compare that the teaching one-on-one tutoring? So they tried to do that in 1930s, but in 1980s, Bloom's study said that by comparing the conventional instruction, that is student in the classroom, compared to the student is learned by classroom and formative assessment and corrective feedback, compared to the third group where the individual human tutor per student is assigned. Consider the three groups. One group is a conventional teacher. Teacher is teaching all the 30 students. In other one, the classroom is there and formative assessment and provides a feedback. Then there's other group where the teacher is individually teaching on a topic. So comparing this, they found out the learning gain, the improvement from the pre-test to post-test has improved 2 sigma, that is in the normal distribution. 2 sigma, no standard deviation as improvement happened. So it has been proved by the studies from 1980s that individual personalized learning is improves the learning. However, the challenge is that can we have a one-on-one tutoring for every learner? We don't. So, but why the one-on-one tutoring works? Why we need to, why the classroom teaching is not working? Why the one-on-one tutors works? It's that the good tutor in a one-on-one, he knows where the learner is standing, what is the learner current state, what is the prior knowledge. Based on the learner's misconception, learner's failure, we could provide a tailored content. And we talked about ZPD, like their learner's current knowledge and this individual, the good tutor is the knowledgeable other who's kind of moving the learners from the comfort zone to the pushing the learner towards the zone where the learner cannot do themselves. So with the help of knowledge of other, the learner can do this task. So that is where the one-on-one tutor might work. That's the idea. And it gives immediate and specific feedback and errors and it adjusts in the real time. It's based on whenever learner is confused or we adjust the learner's affective states, we can provide feedback. And also it motivates the learner when the learner struggles. And the motivation is not just by a learner struggling a problem. Instead, it is more about what are the learner's prior knowledge, how many times the learner needed help. Based on the prior history, the teacher can motivate, and it monitors the learner's comprehension continuously so that it can provide a feedback whenever needed. But can we have this environment replicate? We for that Bloom said that one-on-one tutoring works so effectively, and for the reasons also we know, and it is 2 sigma problem. Okay, it improves a lot. But can we do this, replicate at a large scale? No, that's not possible because of lack of teachers. So we go for the adaptive CBLEs as the answer. So why we can't simply deploy human tutors? One-on-one tutor is not possible because it's also intensive and expensive, and it's not scalable to millions of learners globally. So and if you see only the few elite ones might have the about a private tuition, but not everybody can have private tuition. So the solution can be intelligent adaptive systems or personalized adaptive learning environments. So based on the Van Lens response, the potential of computer-based instruction is that it can approximate the conditions of one-on-one tutoring for every learner, regardless of geography or economic circumstances. So which means we could replace this one-on-one tutoring's effort by providing the computer-based learning environment, which can be accessible by every learner across the globe, irrespective of their economic circumstance. That's the idea of the personalized learning tutoring. That's how the birth of personalized learning tutoring started. The idea started from 1970s. So the thing is, it's equity and also effective. The dual imperative of personalized learning technology is both equal, also effective. The one problem I just want to be covering is that one-on-one tutor can do a motivator, but that is not be done by the computer-based learning environment as such. The computers cannot replace this motivational task. We are still not even able to understand what is motivation. There's no system or there's no mechanism to observe it. So other than a simple self-paced reported questionnaires are there, without that we are not able to motivate. I just want to cast on this. So I think we enough motivated what is learning, what are the key issues in learning, how the CBLE can address these key issues in learning, how the learner can learn and get the benefits of one-on-one learning in a CBLE. I hope you will be enjoying in this course. So thank you.